I got into my car and drove off, leaving Molly sitting there, likely confused and anxious. The weight of what I knew pressed heavily on me, but tonight wasn't about confrontation. It was about taking the next steps to rebuild my life. When I arrived at Gabriel's house, the warm glow of the porch light and the faint smell of baked lasagna greeted me. Gabriel and his wife, Rose, welcomed me in with genuine smiles, though I could tell they sensed something was off. "Good to see you, Mason," Gabriel said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Come on in, make yourself at home." Rose extended a hand and gave me a kind smile. "You look like you've had a rough few days. Come sit, and let's get you fed." Their kindness was disarming. Over dinner, I kept the conversation light at first, talking about work and my interest in joining Gabriel's team. But as the evening went on, I couldn't keep up the facade any longer. Rose, perceptive as ever, noticed my unease. "Mason," she said gently, "you don't have to share anything you're not ready to, but if you want to talk, we're here." I hesitated, then sighed, setting my fork down. "It's Molly," I said, my voice heavy. "She's been unfaithful. And not just with one person." Gabriel looked stunned, his fork pausing midair. "Mason, I'm so sorry. That's awful." Rose reached out, placing a comforting hand on mine. "I can't imagine how painful this is for you." "It's worse than that," I continued. "It's with Brad, my boss, and a few of his friends, including his son. I have proof, but seeing it, knowing it, it's unbearable." Gabriel's expression darkened. "Brad, I can't believe he'd do something so low." Rose leaned forward. "Do you have a support system, Mason? Someone you can talk to besides us?" I shook my head. "Not really. That's why I'm here. I needed to tell someone who might understand. And Gabriel, I'm serious about leaving my job. I can't work for him anymore." Gabriel nodded firmly. "You have a place on my team, Mason. We'll get everything set up as soon as you're ready." Rose added, "And if you need someone to talk to, professionally or not, I can help connect you to someone, or just listen." Their support felt like a lifeline. After dinner, Gabriel poured us all a drink, and we sat in the living room discussing logistics for the new job and how to navigate the fallout with Brad and Molly. As I left their house that night, I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since discovering Molly's betrayal. I had a plan, allies, and a way forward. The next steps wouldn't be easy, but they were necessary. When I returned home, the house was dark. Molly had gone to bed. I stood in the living room for a moment, looking at the life we'd built together and wondering how it had come to this. Then I walked to the futon, lay down, and stared at the ceiling, steeling myself for the difficult conversation that lay ahead. The next morning, I confronted her. I held up the photos, my voice cold and cutting. "And these? Brad's not the only one, Molly. His son, his friends, people I don't even know. Did they just walk in on you, too, or did you willingly throw yourself into this mess?" Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. I don't know how it got this far," she whispered. "It started with Brad, but then it was like I couldn't stop. I felt trapped, ashamed, and I didn't know how to face you." "Trapped?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Trapped in what? You weren't forced into this, Molly. You had choices, and every single one of them betrayed me. Betrayed us. You let it spiral out of control, and now you want to play the victim?" She sobbed, her hands clutching her face. "I know I messed up, Mason. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I still love you." I slammed my hand on the table, the sound making her jump. "Don't you dare say you love me. You don't destroy someone you love. You don't humiliate them, ruin their trust, and shatter their life. Love. You threw that word away the moment you chose Brad over me." She stayed silent, her tears the only response. After a long, tense pause, I leaned back in my chair, my tone quieter but no less firm. "This is over, Molly. There's no fixing this. I'll file for divorce, and there's nothing left to discuss." She nodded, her head hanging low. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You'll pack your things and leave before the papers are served," I said. "Stay away from me, my home, and my life. You wanted Brad and his circus? Congratulations. You're free to join them." Her shoulders shook as the weight of my words sank in. "I'll leave tomorrow," she whispered. I stood up, unable to look at her any longer. "Good. The sooner, the better." Without another word, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her alone with her guilt. Upstairs, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring out the window as the enormity of the situation settled over me. My marriage was over, my trust shattered, and the woman I thought I'd spend my life with had turned into someone I no longer recognized. But as the hours passed, I felt something else, a faint glimmer of relief. I'd made my decision, taken control, and refused to let her betrayal define my future. There was still a long road ahead, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of clarity. Tomorrow, I'd move forward. Without Molly. Without Brad. Without the weight of their deceit. It was time to rebuild, on my terms. The fallout from my marriage had been a storm of betrayal, heartbreak, and tragedy. But as the dust settled, I found myself stepping into a new chapter. Molly's life had ended in chaos, taking Brad and Matt with her. Their tangled web of deceit had destroyed more than just my marriage. It had cost lives. Standing at her memorial, I realized something profound. Forgiveness and letting go weren't for the other person. They were for me. They were my path to peace. Work at Empire kept me busy, offering a sense of stability I hadn't felt in months. Gabriel had been a great mentor, and Rose's counseling sessions helped me rediscover parts of myself I thought were gone. I embraced fitness, started martial arts, and even rekindled old hobbies. Slowly but surely, I was finding myself again. When Tracy invited me to happy hour that evening, I hesitated. Putting myself out there felt strange after everything, but I also knew staying stuck in the past wouldn't lead to the life I wanted. So I said yes. Later that night at Hitchhikers, I found myself laughing with Tracy and the team over drinks. It was refreshing, no tension, no deceit, just lighthearted fun. Tracy and I shared a few more moments than I expected, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I noticed myself smiling. Genuinely. Over the next few weeks, Tracy and I began spending more time together. At first, it was casual, coffee breaks, team lunches, after-work drinks, but there was something about her warmth, her kindness, that drew me in. She didn't pry about my past, though I knew she was aware of it. She simply treated me like Mason, a man she enjoyed getting to know. One evening, after we both stayed late at work, Tracy stopped by my desk. "You want to grab dinner?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. I nodded, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. "Yeah, I'd like that." As we walked out together, I realized I was finally ready to open myself to new possibilities. Life had thrown me curveballs, but here I was, still standing, still moving forward. Tracy wasn't a replacement for Molly or anyone else. She was simply someone who made me feel hopeful again. And that was enough for now.